Preferred seating. Have you ever wondered what that means? Have you ever checked that box on an IEP or an ILP, and then in the meeting, you go over all the accommodations, and when you get to preferred seating, you see a bright look come on the student's face, and they get a little smile, and they're like, I can sit anywhere? And then you have to quickly explain, well, it's not like preferred, it's more, like so you can sit closer to the teacher or sit away from the window, something like that. I've always wondered why I've had that option to choose preferred seating when I have to explain it every time. And I thought, hey, it's winter break, let me do some digging and report out. And I found a sad truth. I've been wrong this whole time. So I've seen preferred seating and preferential seating in different forms in different countries and districts that I've worked at over the years. And even one of the national or international organizations where we get a lot of our best practices from in these international schools uses preferred seating. But after doing a little bit of research and kind of looking at different forms, looking at different law, like IDEA type of stuff, I have come to find out that it should be preferential seating. So what does preferential mean? If you give preference to someone with a particular qualification or feature, you choose them rather than someone else. So I would say another way to think about that is, so for example, I've been international teaching for the last few years, and I gave up my car back in California, and I've been riding the bus a lot more and taking trains and things like that. And yeah, we didn't do that too much in California. And one thing I noticed is that you often see signs and seating arrangements for people that have physical disabilities, or the elderly, or pregnant women, or people with kids, and there'll be special colored seats, different sections, and people know that these folks have priority, or in other words, they have preferential seating. In a United States context, we could look at that as like an ADA type of thing, Americans with Disabilities Act, where we're allowing access to the bus to people that might not have the same access. So it's sort of an accommodation. And if we think about different learning challenges technically being referred to as disabilities, then we can see the same thing. A student with ADHD, for example, may be given preference, and like the definition says, they may be chosen over others to sit in a certain place. Not the student's preference necessarily, but we're giving them preferential treatment because we want to make sure that they have the most equitable seating arrangement and they can access the curriculum and the classroom and all that. A teacher might have their system for creating a seating chart, or like to switch it up every few weeks, or likes the student to be able to sit wherever they want. Actually, that's my approach. I like to let the students sit wherever they want, and if it becomes a problem, we can chat about it. But if a student can benefit from this environmental accommodation to have the preferential seating, we have to strive for that. Or in actuality, it's technically law, so we have to make sure to accommodate for that. And like a lot of things in special education, kind of like a UDL, Universal Design for Learning, a lot of what we do is beneficial for all the students. So for example, this reminds me of a situation where I worked with a student on my caseload who was having a lot of difficulty in several classes. He was actually on academic probation, and I think he was on behavior probation, and was like one semester from being counseled out of the school, as they say. And so I was having a meeting with his science teacher, and we were sitting down in a classroom talking about strategies. The student had ADHD. He had some difficulty with reading, decoding, comprehension, things like that. And we were trying to figure out what to do. And one of the things I asked her, one of the first things I did was I said, hey, where does he sit? Because the boy wasn't doing a lot of work, and he just wasn't doing his thing. So I was just kind of curious, okay, where's he sitting? And the teacher had to reflect a little bit, and she was looking around. She's like, oh yeah, he sits back there with a couple of his friends. And then it kind of hit like a light bulb. She's like, oh yeah, we might have to work on that seating arrangement. And that's just one of those things, like the teacher, she has her content, she's a master of the content. a lot of grading, a lot of different, complaints about stuff from parents, things like that. And sometimes having that conversation with the learning support teacher will help the teacher to kind of get that bird's eye perspective and say, oh yeah, okay, let me tweak this little classroom management thing. And then that benefits the other boys too, and the student on my caseload. So it's kind of a win-win when we're considering all these different accommodations. So yeah, it's preferential seating or selective seating, as I've called it in some of the schools I've worked at. So hey, I can't be the only one that's called it preferred seating. So put a comment down below if you've ever called it preferred seating or if you're calling it preferred seating now, because I don't want to be the only one. All right, peace.